Alright, so all praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakaha Kodash. Double honors to my elders, apostles, and the bishops of Great Millstone, where I have learned this truth and where I'm still learning this truth. And shalom to the other sincere followers of this truth. Alright, so we're going to get back into, today, we're going to start getting back into the Teach Exactly What You Were Taught series. And this one comes from another brother in the faith, right? GMS Italia is his channel, one of his channels. So, being that we spoke at the end of the last series, which was what was the last one? Can't remember, but we touched on these other teachers going to these podcasts trying to make their own way, or showing that they may have a foot still in the old life, right? Or a part of that old life. They may still be a part of it in some way, shape, form, or fashion, right? So this lesson, the topic is going to be know when and how to detach. All right. So as the remnant, that is one of the important how questions, and it is a path that you will find, the answer that you will get when you are searching for your own salvation, when you are searching for Yahweh Shai and Yahweh, okay, which Yahweh Shai is whom this world ignorantly calls, Yahweh is whom this world ignorantly calls God, all right, his name is Yahweh, and Yahweh Shai is whom this world ignorantly calls Jesus, all right, he has no other name but that one name, Yahweh Shai, and Yahweh only has one name, no other name, just Yahweh, okay. So, and these names have power, okay? They're not any names to be played with or disregarded, okay? If you don't know that by now, you will know in the end, because every knee will bow, okay, in the end, all right? So let's go ahead and start in 2 Timothy, all right? Uh, I did want to touch on something else before I start this, because this is the first video in this series, right? We're going to 2 Timothy chapter 2, okay? But before I get into the lesson, I do want to start with something else, which is first and foremost, look, my teachers and the other part of the body, the remnant, okay? We do not preach, nor have we been taught to do violence, all right? The closest thing we come to doing to violence is reading these scriptures, okay? Uh, being that these scriptures are known as a two-edged sword, all right? They're also a mirror when you hold them up to certain people, when you hold them up to all people. When I realized the path that I was on by listening and learning and reading and studying these scriptures, it did not feel good, all right? It did not feel good. I realized that I was on the path of death, a path of death, all right? Which any path outside of this truth is leading you to death, all right? So when I found that, it did not feel good, all right? I realized I was on the boulevard of broken dreams, all right? So whatever dreams I had when I was in that life, it it doesn't matter in the end. All right, it's okay to have things to uh, to reach for in this life, like goals and all that, right? But you have to have the Lord first. You have to do this first. You have to put this first. Okay? You have to put this first. And that will guide you. Okay? That will guide you. That will be your gauge. So you know if you have to cross the line with the Lord to get to that goal, that's not a good goal to have. All right? So this will gauge you. This will help you get on the right paths in this life. All right? But the main path is this one right here. Okay? Um, so with that being said, if it didn't feel good when I read and I realized this, how much more uncomfortable, how much more painful is it going to hurt the kings and the rulers of this earth who have a hold on almost 9 billion people through their philosophies? All right, if you start to put up a big mirror, okay, and they see themselves, which I don't know, some of them, it may give some of them pride seeing the things that they've accomplished. All right, but other people are seeing their reflection too, are seeing their image, their actual, who they are through these scriptures, and they're losing their power. Okay, the main ones that it matters uh, to them who see the reflection is the remnant. Okay, they're starting to wake. We, okay, are starting. Lord willing, I'm of that number. All right, are starting to wake and see things for what they truly are. That comes as a part of this gift that is given to us in the scriptures, the truth. Okay. All right. So they are starting to lose their grip, and it does not feel good. That part definitely doesn't feel good to them. Okay. They may love the feeling of deceiving the whole world, almost 9 billion other people, but it hurts so much that the truth is coming out that we have ended up on a most violent list. All right, just for reading these scriptures, which is foretold in the scriptures also. All right, that they will come at us with everything that they have. Okay, especially now that they know they only have a short time. All right, because the Lord is on His way back. All right. So now, now that I said that, just keep in mind that first of all, we're not black Hebrew Israelites. We are Hebrew Israelites, and we read the scriptures. Okay. So why are we on a list called most violent, especially knowing the tactics that they have done, the violence that they have done? All right, the violence that these other groups on this list have done. All right, what is it that we have done that's violent? It's reading these scriptures. It cuts them to the spirit, all the way to the spirit. It cuts them, and it does not feel good, man. All right, so that's why we are on that list. All right. Secondly, um, in these studies, all right, when you first come into the truth, okay, or this message can go worldwide, right? What I'm about to say right here, but especially for the remnant, all right? The gospel is for the remnant. The Bible is in the whole world, all right? But the gospel, the true knowledge of these scriptures is only for the remnant, okay? Even in hearing that, if you are not a part of the remnant and you start thinking that you are, sooner or later, the Lord is going to sift you out. You are going to fall out. You're going to do some uh some Esau Edom shit, all right? And you're going to fall out, all right? But uh when you begin on this path, okay, you have to realize some things about this this Bible being over here in this part of the world. I'm speaking mainly to the Israelites that are in North America, USA, okay? We are scattered everywhere. The remnant is everywhere, all right? We look like all peoples, Okay, but I'm talking mainly to the ones in America. Okay, so we take for granted this Bible being over here. We take for granted, and we don't understand when we first come in this thing, that this Bible being over here and being in English, even if you read it and it sounds plain, all right, that is just the surface. All right, that is just the surface. You just cannot pick up this thing and read it in English and think that you can figure it all out just by reading these words over here. All right, that's prideful, for one. You think English is the end all be all language. All right, no, it is not. Okay, you have to come out of this American state of mind and get into your Israelite state of mind. All right, come back. Okay, repent and return. Now, to prove what I just said about this English thing, or to go along with what I said about this English thing, let's read something out of these scriptures. All right, this is the Apocrypha. All right, which is a part of the Testament. Okay, so you have the Old Testament, you have the New Testament, and you have the Apocrypha. Now, us, if the Lord has gave you at least a little bit of an eye salve to see this, all right, as a part of the remnant, one of the first things you learn is that these three things that I just mentioned are all one testament. When it was written on these scrolls, right, it wasn't split into Old Testament, New Testament, Apocrypha. It was all one testament. Okay, and all of these testify of what? They testify of the only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai. Okay, all right. So that is what this is about. Not you, not me, not anyone else but Yahweh Shai. All right. And because of the Lord's grace, the Lord's love for us, and Yahweh Shai's love for us, all right, they have included us in the story. Okay. I mean, they've included, everyone is included. All right. But the gospel, the good news of all of this, the good news of this, the whole thing, all of everything around you, the good news is for us. Okay. The remnant of Israel. Okay. And only the remnant of Israel. All right. Not even all Israel, because 2/3 of Israelites in America now, I'm speaking of, you're going to be destroyed, melted. All right. That is prophecy. The two things the Lord won't do is fail and lie. Okay. So you will be melted if you are just if you're just an Israelite. All right. If you are not a part of the remnant, you are going to be melted. How do you know if you're a part of the remnant? Filter yourself through these scriptures. Read in here and see what path you are walking. All right. Are you reading the scriptures? Are you studying? Are you learning? Are you listening? Or are you walking by, not paying no mind, living your life, right? Living life the way you want to. Saying that the Lord is all love and he understands, he knows your heart. You know, that Christian shit. There's no religion that the Lord started that's called Christianity. Find that in the scriptures, right? So now, words, okay? These English words do not hold a candle to what these scriptures are telling you, what these scriptures are saying, because they are alive, so they are speaking, okay? So let's go to the book of Ecclesiasticus, all right? And the Apocrypha is called the book of Ecclesiasticus. But in this other translation down here, the good news, which I'm going to read this out of also. Hold on a second. It is called the book of Sirach, all right? So it's either called the book of Ecclesiasticus or you can call it the book of Sirach, all right? It's the same thing, okay? What else was I about to say? Something just came into my mind and I lost it. Well, okay, yeah, the translations. The water Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, all right? So even the other translations. All right, I have the Good News translation. I have the New Living Translation, or the NLT. All right, these other translations can throw you for a loop. They can be a stumbling block to you if you have no foundation. All right, even the King James can be a stumbling block to you if you have no foundation. Okay, you have to go deeper. And one of the key things to help quicken you, all right, the Lord has to will it. All right, the Spirit has to be given to you. Okay, you have to know the names of Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. All right, but guess what else they had down here to help? Men. They have men that guide you in this thing, but you have to hear, you have to listen to them, not just hear them. Excuse me. Okay, they will guide you, and that will help build your foundation. All right, don't just think that you're going to open up this book and find it on your own. It says, "Lean not on your own understanding," and that's paraphrasing that scripture. All right, lean not on thine own understanding. All right, so now let's get to the prologue. This is called the prologue of Ecclesiasticus. All right, the prologue is more than what I'm going to read. All right, but I'm just going to get straight to the point. Okay, now listen to this. It says, "Wherefore let me entreat you to read it with favor and attention, and to pardon us, wherein we may seem to come short of some words which we have labored to interpret. For the same things uttered in Hebrew and translated into another language have not the same force in them. And not only these things, but the law itself and the prophets and the rest of the books have no small difference when they are spoken in their own language." All right, so I'm going to read that same thing again in the Good News translation. All right, and the reason why we read some of these things out of another translation, all right, is because it does speak more clearly uh, in English sometimes, all right. But like I said, you have to have a foundation to be able to see when these things go off. So be careful when reading or listening to these other translations if you do not have a foundation. It can throw you off. One word can change the whole thing, the whole meaning of a scripture. All right, so be careful. Because there's only one truth. Okay? Many people can look at all of these scriptures in here and form a story behind it. That's what the evil one has done, really. All right, to throw you off any which way he can, and it's worked. All right, and it has worked. So again, the Good News translation of the Book of Sirach and the Apocrypha, right, in the Good News translation. The same thing I read in the King James translation, but this is the Good News. It says, "Let me urge you then to read this book carefully and with an open mind, and please be patient in those places where, in spite of all my diligent efforts, I may not have translated some phrases very well. What was originally written in Hebrew does not always have exactly the same sense when it is translated into another language. That is true not only of this book, but even of the law itself, the prophets, and the other books. The translations differ quite a bit from the original." Okay, so be careful when you go into these other translations, and be careful being in this American mindset, thinking that your language, the one that is your main language, is the main language to learn all truth and understand all truth. All right, that's not the way to think. Okay, so I just wanted to touch on that before we get started in this. Uh, Before we get started in this, what else do I want to say? There is something else. So the focus although Israelites are scattered in the entire earth, right? We look like all peoples, okay? The focus is on America. This is where the main salvation is going to hit, or the main prophecy is going to hit, the main salvation. Yes, of course, the main prophecy is going to affect the entire earth. Believe me, it's going to change the entire earth. It's going to make it new, meaning refreshed. All right, the entire earth is affected by what is in here. Okay, in these scriptures. All right, but the main focus is here on America because of what is going to happen here. Not only is this Babylon the Great, all right, Babylon is confusion. And if you are in America, you should know that this place over here is nothing but confusion over here, man. It's nothing but confusion. Period. Period. So, 2/3 of us, all right, 2/3 of Israelites are going to die along with everyone else here. All right, everyone in America outside of the remnant is going to perish. You're all going to die. You're all going to get melted in fire. All right, if you are here on that last day. Now, I'm not saying that the Lord is going to keep you around that long. He might fuck you up before then. All right, but on that day, if you are not of the remnant and walking in the path that the remnant are walking in these last days, right, you are going to die. It doesn't matter your age, your height, all right, your sex, which is only two sexes, male and female, all right. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're a little puppy. It doesn't matter anything. Everything over here is going to die, all right. Okay. And people are not going to set foot back over here in this land. Okay. There will be some animals over here, but people are not going to set foot back over here. It's over for this place. All right. We are watching the fall, and it is going to crash and burn. It's on its way. All right. So yeah, I just wanted to say that. All right. That is the future in a nutshell. Okay. And how do I know that? Because everything in these pages are faithful and true. Okay? Everything in here. Now, let's go ahead and get started. So, like I said, this is another video in the teaching exactly what you were taught. All right? With this topic being know when and how to detach. Okay? So, we're going to start in 2 Timothy chapter 2. Okay? 2 Timothy chapter 2, verses 3 and 4. All right? And it reads, "Thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahushai HaMashiach." And Ha is the, and Mashiach is Messiah. All right, so let me read that again. 2 Timothy 2, 3, and 4. It says, "Thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahushai the Messiah." Okay, or the anointed. All right. Verse 4, "No man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who hath chosen him to be a soldier." Okay, so this refers to us, okay, the remnant, as soldiers, because we have been called into this life, okay, truth, all right, this ministry, all right, so we have an objective to complete, all right. We cannot allow for other things to make us deviate from the mission at hand, all right. So when you look at what soldiers do, they leave their family to go off to war, don't they? So doing this allows for the focus of the objective to become the only objective, to win the war, all right. Being spiritual soldiers, we have to let go of those things that keep us in this world or keep us attached to this world, all right. We are not on a battlefield physically, We are most definitely on a spiritual battlefield. You have to know this. The whole world is starting to get that feeling. All right. But as a remnant, we know this for a fact. All right. It's been this way. Okay. So when you get too involved or distracted by other things, it takes away from where your focus should be as a soldier. All right. Keep the main thing. All right. The main thing. You have to keep it. The affairs of this life. Okay. When it said the affairs of this life, in verse 4, it said, no man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life. So, the affairs of this life, all right? The different situations or relationships that you form in this world can cause you to have an affinity towards this place, all right? That's what the affairs of this life are. The basic difference between a civilian and um, a soldier is usually deployed, and when they reach their destination, they are not civilians. But when an attachment to their destination takes over, it can bring about thinking and acting like a civilian. All right. All right. So, anyway, the reality being that the soldier is at war and was sent there to be on a particular mission. All right. Let me see. Hold on. All right. Let me read that again. It says the basic difference between a soldier and a civilian. Okay. A soldier is usually deployed, and when they reach their destination, they are not civilians. But if an attachment is there, all right, or if an attachment is at their destination, all right, and it takes over, it can bring about thinking and acting like a civilian to that soldier. All right, if you have something that you care about around, like you hold on to in this life, all right, if you have something that um, is around that stops you from thinking that you are at war, you're gonna not act like you are at war. You're not gonna think like you're at war. It's gonna slip your mind. Or what you should be doing, the objectives are going to slip your mind. You're going to be more worried about that thing that you are attached to. Okay? All right. And you don't want to start thinking like that, because the reality is that you were sent on a particular mission. You have to be on that mission physically and in your mind at all times, 100%, right? So some soldiers in the past didn't even take photos of family and friends during a mission, because they knew that the moment the focus changed from the mission at hand, they were dead men. All right, an attachment can get you killed. An attachment can have you looking back. All right, and there's a good example of what happens when you look back in the scriptures. You die, right? So let me read that again in the NLT. Okay, 2 Timothy chapter 2, verses 3 and 4. He says, endure suffering along with me as a good soldier of Yahushua. All right. Verse 4 says, soldiers don't get tied up in the affairs of civilian life, for then they cannot please the officer who enlisted them. All right. Let's do it again in the Good News Translation. 2 Timothy. Hold on a second. All right. Second Timothy chapter 2, verses 3 and 4. It says, take your part in suffering as a loyal soldier of Hamashiach Yahushai. All right. A soldier on active duty wants to please his commanding officer, so he does not get mixed up in the affairs of civilian life. Okay? All right, so now let's go to Luke. Let's go to Luke chapter 8. What time is it? Let me see what time it is. Hold on. Okay, let's go to Luke chapter 8. All right, this is Luke chapter 8, verses 6 and 7. This is a red letter now. All right. It says, "And some fell upon a rock, and as soon as it was sprung up, it withered." Here, I'm gonna start at 4. All right, but the points that I want to get to is in 6 and 7. All right, Luke chapter 8, starting at verse 4. The heading above 4 says the parable of the sower. Okay, it says, "And when much people were gathered together and were come to him out of every city, he spake by parable. A sower went out to sow his seed, and as he sowed, some fell by the wayside, and it was trodden down, and the fowls of the air devoured it." All right, now listen to this. It says, "And some fell upon a rock, and as soon as it was sprung up, it withered away, because it lacked moisture. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprang up with it and choked it." All right, now I want to read verse 13 really quick. All right, 13 and 14. It says, "They on the rock are they which, when they hear, receive the word with joy, and these have no root, which for a while believe, and in time of temptation fall away." Verse 14, "And that which fell among thorns are they which, when they have heard, go forth and are choked with cares and riches and pleasures of this life, and bring no fruit to perfection." All right. Let me read those again in the NLT. All right, Luke, you should see where this is going. All right, Luke chapter, or even if you don't, just give it a minute, and it'll all come together, if you are of the remnant, okay? Luke chapter 8. All right, Luke chapter 8, verses 6 and 7. It reads, "Other seed fell among rocks. It began to grow, but the plant soon wilted and died for lack of moisture." This water, right? "Other seed fell among thorns that grew up with it and choked out the tender plants." All right. Now let's read verses 13 and 14 again. See what those seed represented. All right. So verse 13, it says, "The seeds on the rocky soil represent those who hear the message and receive it with joy, but since they don't have deep roots, they believe for a while, then they fall away when they face temptation." Right? Verse 14, it says, "The seeds that fell among the thorns represent those who hear the message, but all too quickly the message is crowded out by the cares and riches and pleasures of this life. And so they never grow into maturity. All right. So this is already pointing at some of you. This is your mirror. All right. This is your two-edged sword. If you feel some type of way, you know that one of these seeds are you, either the rocky or the ones that fell amongst the thornies. All right. The thorn. Let's read this in the Good News translation. Luke chapter 8. Verses 6 and 7. Okay, it reads, some of it fell on the rocky ground, and when the plants sprouted, they dried up because the soil had no moisture. Verse 7, some of the seed fell among thorn bushes, which grew up with the plants and choked them. All right, now let's go down to 13, 14. Luke chapter 8, verses 13 and 14 in the Good News translation. It says, the seeds that fell on rocky ground stand for those who hear the message and receive it gladly, but it does not sink deep into them. They believe only for a while, but when the time of testing comes, they fall away. All right, that sounds like them teachers that we talked about in the last series, all right? Verse 14, the seeds that fell among the thorn bushes stand for those who hear, but the worries, riches, and pleasures of this life crowd in and choke them, and their fruit never ripens. And that sounds like you people who think that you can just go on living the way that you're living. Since everything is fine, you don't even pay attention to the scriptures. All right? Or you everything is fine. All right, everything is fine. Even though things are bad, they'll get better. You know, you give no reverence to the Lord. All right? Okay? Even though you've been told in some shape, form, or fashion, like I've said before, everyone has came across this truth. By the last day, I mean, everyone with all this everyone in America, most definitely, or very close to. I mean, when everyone hears the truth, things are going to start happening quickly. All right? Okay? Anyway, now let's go to Matthew. Yeah, so you what does that mean? You think everything is fine? It's because everything around you is fine. The things that you care about. All right. What does it say? Verse 14. And that which fell among thorns are they which, when they have heard, go forth and are choked with cares and riches and pleasures of this life, and bring no fruit to perfection. All right, you have to come all the way into this to be considered as of one of the chosen. All right, there are many called, few chosen. All right, and those people heard the word. All right, but they got caught up in their cares, and it smothered them, so they couldn't grow or cause another piece of fruit to grow. Okay, which is what preaching and teaching will have do. All right, that'll be you giving this water so that someone else can grow and learn in this thing and produce fruit. All right, not you're not supposed to be stagnant and get caught up in the cares of this world and not do anything as far as what you are hearing in the scriptures. Like, you like what you hear, especially if you're an Israelite. You love what you hear. All right, but you don't. That's where it stops. Okay. Now let's go to Matthew, and then I'm gonna close it after this and pick back up tomorrow, Lord willing. All right, let's go to Matthew. Matthew chapter 13. That's why it's important to know when and how to detach. All right. Some point you have to get in this spiritual war and stop being a civilian. Okay. Be a soldier for the Lord, but that means doing this walk. It doesn't mean going out here and picking up no fucking weapon and doing things your own way. All right. No violence. Vengeance is the Lord's. This is the part that he gave us to do as a soldier. All right. So get into these scriptures and go out and preach and teach the truth. Okay. So we're going to Matthew 13 and we're going to verse 22. This is a red letter again. All right. It says, he also that received seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the care of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becometh unfruitful. All right. You get stagnated, you get smothered, and all of the shit that's going around you, which includes the things that you care about. All right. You have to put this first. All right. You have to put this first. Matthew 13 and 22 in the NLT. It says, the seed that fell among the thorns represents those who hear God's word, but all too quickly the message is crowded out by the worries of this life and the lure of wealth, so no fruit is produced. All right, again in the Good News Translation. This is pretty plain to me, but that doesn't mean since I know it that I hold it to myself and don't try to explain this, all right? Or, go through this over and over again. Okay? It is good to rehash all of these things that you hear. All right? Why am I going through pages like this? Anyway, Matthew 13, verse 22 in the Good News Translation. Okay? And it reads, the seeds that fell among thorn bushes stand for those who hear the message, but the worries about this life and the love for riches choke the message, and they don't bear fruit. All right. And that is the main mission. That's the main path that we are on, to be down here and to bear fruit. All right. Water the remnant by giving them this water. Okay. The truth, wisdom, and knowledge of this. And hopefully they learn and go do the same. Okay. So I'm going to stop it right there. This is part 1 of Teach Exactly What You Were Taught, with the topic being know when and how to detach. Right? So with that, I'm going to say all praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachahad Kodash. Double honors to my elders, apostles, and the bishops of Great Millstone, where I have learned this truth and where I am still learning this truth. And shalom also to the other sincere followers of this truth. Shalom.